Welcome back, everybody. Okay, we're going to move on to our silver sponsor today, which is Nokia. So I'd like to invite Korhan up to the stage, who's going to do the presentation for us. Korhan.
Sound check. Okay, I believe you can hear me. Hello, my name is Korhan. I'm a consulting engineer working in Nokia. Today I'm here to present you the tools that I use that makes my life easy as a network engineer, and I hope it will help you too. But before I start, I would like to check who has heard of Containerlab before. Beautiful. Okay. So today I will talk about a bit of Containerlab. Half of the audience is already familiar what it is and how it makes my life easy and how it has become much more easier to use for all of us. So first, Containerlab is a networking lab product. Network as code. So basically, in short, it allows us to define a network lab in a simple definition and deploy. It's open source. It's multi-vendor, vendor agnostic. You can virtualize labs using other vendor operating systems as well as Nokia operating systems. For example, in GitHub, we publish. There's a big community, and in GitHub, we publish most of our networking labs that we work on. They're simple YAML files that they are defined. Here we can find a multi-vendor EVPN VXLAN lab. If you would like to make sure if Nokia works with Arista or Juniper in a EVPN setting, here it is already ready to deploy, ready to configure. And it's just like a click of a button. You can deploy this lab in seconds in your Linux server, and then you can start testing. And everything is configured, everything is working in a virtual environment. So this is what Containerlab does. In GitHub-SRL labs, you will find many more labs, not only EVPN VXLAN, but segment routing and whatnot, many labs over here, ready to deploy. And this is what essentially Containerlab does. Half of you are quite familiar. Today, I will do an extension to that, and I will talk about a VS Code extension. So I'm a network engineer. I am not a coder, so I haven't used VS Code for a long time. But initially, what I was doing is like defining device configurations in a text file, copy-pasting them to the device CLI, but that was not the most efficient way of doing things. Then I got introduced to VS Code. It allows me to go onto the device CLI at the same time and change device configurations in only one window. And recently, a colleague, Florian from Nokia, has developed an extension to Containerlab that is also open source. Here in the VS Code extension marketplace, you can look at SRL Labs publisher. And if you install this Containerlab add-on, it will pop up a new tab over here on your VS Code. So here, this VS Code extension is automatically discovering all the Containerlab YAML files that are existing on my Linux server that is sitting in Antwerp, Belgium. All of these nodes that are defined, labs are defined in a YAML format, but they're all in gray. Normally, to deploy a lab, I would do Containerlab deploy something, and it would deploy the lab in seconds. But with this extension, I can do right-click, deploy, and that will, I can inspect the logs over here, or I can wait until the lab is ready. And then extension discovered again. It's a 2-node lab with 2 clients and 2 SR Linux nodes. I can click on this pen button and inspect how the lab is defined in a simple YAML format. Here are the SR Linux nodes and their release and the configuration files. And then here I have 2 Linux clients. These are Alpine Linux clients that I use to send ICMP pings. And at the bottom, we define links. Now, my lab is up and running. All the nodes are green. And I can click on these drop-down lists and look at the interfaces. I can right-click on my lab and do graph. There are many functions that I don't have time to talk about. But for example, I can draw a graph based on the topology file. So basically, this automatically renders a drag and drop graphic of topology of my existing lab. So basically, it's a lab of 2 nodes and 2 clients. For a more complex lab, it comes quite handy because you don't have to draw such a topology yourself. This is auto-generated based on your Containerlab YAML file. You see all the interfaces, and you can click and inspect all the details on it. So this makes it very easy to deploy complex labs while you're testing without leaving your screen. Now, what I will do is I will SSH to one of my SR-Linux nodes. Here with a click, it SSH. I don't need to run commands again and admin, username, passwords. I can run commands on my SR-Linux nodes and look at things. I can also log in to my clients. That typically these clients are Linux clients are Docker containers. They don't have an SSH server running on, so I have to run Docker exec, find their Docker ID. It takes some time. Or these VS Code extension makes it super easy to attach my shell to this Linux container. It finds the container ID and does Docker exec. So I'm in my Docker bash. If I ping from client 1 to client 2, so I'm pinging from client 1 to client 2. It's going through SR-Linux 1, SR-Linux 2. There is an EVPN VXLAN between SR-Linux 1 and SR-Linux 2. The best part of this thing is I can introduce, for example, click on the Ethernet 1 interface of the client. I can introduce delays, jitter, packet loss. So let's say for a simple lab, it's not so interesting, but if I would be testing something like segment routing, I can easily introduce packet loss, delay, jitter in one of the paths and see how the traffic path changes without running extra commands, just ease of a click. So I can introduce some delay. I will introduce 1 second delay on the lab. Then I will see that all my ping has increased 1,000 milliseconds more. That easy. And then maybe I want to look at the inspector traffic. Normally, I would go find a virtual Ethernet pair, do TCP dump, and take a packet dump, and download it on my computer and inspect it. That takes a few minutes. Again, Containerlab has a great extension to EdgeShark. EdgeShark is a tool that is developed by Siemens. I think they're using for their edge devices. So basically, EdgeShark is a Docker container that discovers other Docker containers in your Linux server and then exposes their traffic to through its local API. And it integrates with Containerlab. You don't have to, there's no complex installation. You can basically let this plugin also install EdgeShark. Here on my server, I have EdgeShark already installed. If it was not, I could easily do Containerlab EdgeShark. I could have clicked on install or uninstall EdgeShark, and this plugin would install EdgeShark on my server. So now I have EdgeShark on my Linux server sitting in Antwerp. My laptop here is in London. I'm pushing some traffic from client 1 to client 2. Here, I will click on this interface where the Wireshark icon. I will click on capture traffic. It will pop up a Wireshark window that is running on my laptop, but this I will be having live traffic input capture on my laptop from my server that is sitting in Antwerp, Belgium. So that makes it super easy to momentarily capture traffic on the spot without jumping from windows to windows. Here I'm looking at my ICMP traffic going back and forth. I can inspect the interface between my SR-Linux nodes, let's say Ethernet 1.1. I click on it, pops up another window. Then I see the traffic coming in, ICMP packets. If I look at the encapsulation, it's VXLAN, IPv6. So when I built virtual labs for opportunities and for most of our clients, this tool makes my life super easy. I hope It also makes your life easy to capture, easy to deploy, and easy to destroy your nodes. With a click of a button, you can remove this lab, and the lab is gone. My Docker containers are destroyed. That's it. And then I can right-click on something else, another lab, and deploy that as well. So that's it. That was in a short how I use Containerlab without leaving my VS Code screen. Any questions? All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.